What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo, and oof, this one's special. I actually just recorded the demo. It's solid. This one's arT playing Hellowell versus Sprout here in Pro League, and maybe I want to talk about Furia a little bit. They won every game in Pro League except for their one versus FaZe. Everyone seems to be working very well together right now, and arT, there are some similarities to Kerrigan to talk about in the beginning, about arT versus Kerrigan. What's similar, but what's different as well. And how Furia actually, they have an outside chance of making top 8 of the major again if they keep this form up, even though last time they got a little lucky qualifying, through the NA plus those weird RMR points. They're a legit scary team that people respect, and their playstyle is slightly evolved, but arT has kept a lot of his personality traits and made his style work. So this is sick, man. Love this one. Maybe we'll do another Furia demo. Really enjoyed it, honestly. One of the best demos that I watched recently. So I hope you will too. Let's hop in. They call him Fart when he whiffs, but lately he hasn't been. arT is a guy who is quite similar actually to Kerrigan. I saw someone bring up, why don't we talk about arT versus Kerrigan, since they both have high volatility playstyles. In my opinion, arT has a much higher volatility playstyle and is a much better player than Kerrigan. And I think arT on a different roster with a slightly different personality could just simply be a star player, actually. I think he's not even in the same league as Kerrigan when it comes to individual ability. Can main op, can pretty much do a lot of roles on the team. And yeah, very smart player. Isn't super consistent, so that's the one way in which they're somewhat similar. But apart from their inconsistency, I think the main thing is that arT just has way more star player carry potential, even though they may participate in some of the same antics with the way they swing. Oh, safe. Okay, safe is yeah. So we're here to talk about Furia because they won every series in Pro League except for their one versus FaZe. And in that series, Safe actually had one of his best series, 29 kills in the last map versus FaZe. Overall, Furia looked very strong, and I personally believe that when Henny, originally got removed from the roster, really wanted to play with his twin. For those of you who don't know, Henny is a twin. And for those of you who don't know, Henny played on Furia, and his twin, Lucas, he wanted to play with him, so he ended up leaving the team to go play with them. Probably a terrible career move. I don't know what it's like to have a twin, so I can't really, I want to be empathetic here. I really don't know what that's like, but I hear that can be pretty important for people when they have a twin to want to be around them. So I think that's kind of what's going on with Henny and Lucas. But career-wise, I mean, they look the same, but Henny is a much better player than Lucas. So I really think, in a dream world, and he wouldn't be a twin. He wouldn't have that kind of hanging over him that he really wants to play with his brother. And he could have continued to play on Furia. I thought they were going to get back together, and I actually believe that this was the best move for Furia, was to actually bring back Henny onto the roster, if possible. But after seeing what Safe did at the Major, and then now playing on Furia, clearly he's a strong fit. Also, I thought that Drop was a player who was going to be an interim fix for a problem where they bring in some bigger star to replace him. But he seems pretty sound to me. He's not really getting a ton of frags every map, but from the games that I've watched, I feel like he's made some good moves. I think he actually looks quite good. And right now, Furia are a team to be taken seriously. They made it to top 8 of the major. Let's check this mid round. I think this demo is going to be pretty good. A 20 kill half. So I definitely want to talk about it a little bit. So these mid rounds from Furia are so dangerous. You can see this is the one risk right here. That this is the pressure point. This is the one pressure point here when you're walking up a ramp, okay, and you're crossing. If someone's under balcony like this, they're going to jiggle a tiny bit every once in a while back and forth, and then they could shoot you on the cross. So now that they've released this tension, there it is. Okay, the peak comes out. There is one under balc, and it looks like, oh, Rouse and Marks both got kills. So I think there might have been someone on default or back in CT as well. So that's the risk that you run, because you can only go so far, and you cannot get full confirmation on that position underneath the balcony without exposing yourself to angles like jungle, depending on how you're standing, maybe even CT spawn. So you got to be careful from that perspective. That is a beast opening kill. That comes down purely to art's crosshair placement. Slacks is waiting for him to peek off the corner of that smoke there, so he's really pissed off that he doesn't get the kill. And arT is willing to participate in those duels, and that's where I think, you know, arT is clearly going to be better than Kerrigan. Kerrigan can have a game as good as arT for sure, but overall, I think arT can be more consistently better. And I think it's a huge reason why, and the similarity between him and them in FaZe Clan is that when art's playing well, there's so much power behind him between Safe, Yuri, Quesarado, just like you have the core of Rob, Sprokey, and Twist on FaZe Clan, that you got one extra player playing that well. He's such a high volatility playstyle. You're going to win a lot. You're going to win a lot. So it's not to say arT isn't consistent. It's not to say arT is consistent, but definitely a bit more so. Another interesting mid round. Very quiet here. Low grenades is the scariest part about Furia sometimes. Now here we don't have any, so they're forced to kind of try to walk out. But they continuously increase their leverage in the round by getting closer and closer to angles. Wow, what a hold from Speedy. They get closer and closer to all these different positions on the site. Tons of pressure. But if you get that one kill, rotation is going to take forever, right? That's the whole game. Rotation takes forever. The whole site can get smoked off. No rotations can come in. Round's over. So it looks like they're going to try to make this... Ooh, this could be an interesting one as well. A lot of interesting stuff happening already. Now, art's toned it down from the guy he used to be. You know, Furia used to have an underdog mindset. We had to play with gimmicks, with pushes, with crazy tactics, because they said if we play like Astralis, we'll never beat Astralis. But now, they're a team who made top 8 at the major, even though they did that through the NA thing. Teams respect them, and they should respect themselves now because they're very good, very talented players. Some of the best Brazilian players to ever play this game, accomplishments aside. So we're going to have a fake here with 2 people showing presence, but feels like 3 with the 2 smokes. But it's actually a group up into mid. And what's really weird about this is they're committing out. Oh, I think that smoke gets missed. Sure, actually, I don't know if that smoke gets missed, but it looks like it may have. But whoa, arT the Warlord takes 2 out on the site. Leaves it down to Safe. Not many winning chances here for Safe.
Let's look at the missed arT smoke and Furia's execution. This is to protect the T's coming up connector. This failed smoke was the reason the execution failed. The entire execution looked like this. Actually a very good execution, for coming through mid and connector. Hope you enjoyed this. Editor Mo out.
Now art's going to show his range, pulls out the op. This is something else he always has in the toolbox, right? Again, he can just primary op if he wants to. But very important for Furia to have this 2 op setup. It's always been something they go with, having a primary opper and then arT. I think it's also something that makes them specifically very dangerous. And yeah, arT, Furia show their range again. Very quiet round, but it's actually a slow default into mid control, which it looks like there's nothing going on here, right? They're really taking it slowly, and the CTs might be thinking, oh, is this going to be a walk into B, a walk into A? And it's very important from a conditioning perspective. We've already seen Furia try those tactics, so they might be afraid of everything. And if Sprout aren't careful, they're giving up a ton of space in this position, actually. So maybe we freeze frame here for a second. Look at this. We've crawled up onto mid. Not only have we crawled up on mid, use minimal resources, probably don't have a lot to work with, but Sprout have limited information. There's a smoke here at the top of connector. The great part about the smoke here on the top of connector is it can be indicative of both a B split, right, and an A split, okay? If we don't have any A ramp control, we don't have anyone inside a palace, then there is still the potential that they're just trying to sneak up 3 like we just saw that last round and have someone come from A ramp or split to A like they just did. But it's just off this one smoke. It's impossible to read for that reason. Really important smoke, that top con smoke from the T perspective. It's not simply to take over connector control. It's to threaten both splits and cause a reaction. And that's the real value of having mid control here for Furia. There's an idea in chess that if you make enough strong positional moves, even if you don't actually take any pieces, that eventually they'll create so much pressure your opponent will make a mistake. And that is a huge value of mid control as a concept, because even though you don't plant the bomb in mid, you can take over mid control and force all these decisions to be made on very low information. And mid is where it's the cynosure of information for the T and CT side on each map. 2-on-2, bomb plant covered perfectly. Love that Caserado stood right behind arT on that one. And now 1v1. It's beautiful. What arT does is pretty much the optimal way to do that. Crawling out, he has the op, so he knows he can take that fight and win 100%. And then if he knows his opponent's not opping, and then you can fall away to get right, and then from get right you can watch the cross, you can scope towards bench, you have this huge pillar to defend from. So that's pretty much all you need to do. Another fast play out mid again. Again, showing some different tempos here, which is great. A lot more nades after winning that round. And arT, he's a guy who tries to get into window very often. Again, we quietly apply pressure, and sometimes you want to push mid with a lot. Sometimes your idea behind taking over mid control is to make the other team react, so you're actually focusing in on the pushes on B, on A, and the mid guys, it's kind of a scarecrow. You're just trying to, show face, but in reality, you're not willing to commit too hard early. But if Sprout continues to give up mid control, they're going to become insecure. So that's the idea here for Furia. And oh, that's huge. I mean, first of all, he gets this information, and Marks just stays there and waits. That's not a bad fight for him. But now they lose this. They lose this really important player that was sitting inside a window that could have spotted them on the cross. And now they fan across the A site. A late rotator comes in a window, but that's one of 2 players left over. So this round is over because they know that. What always sucks is that, in the low number situations, even if you get a kill, that will work against you because your position is now known. Suddenly everything's organized around that, because from the T's mind, it's a 4v1 versus the other guy. They just don't expose himself to where the first guy showed himself, and then don't really have any problems. That's why there's strength in numbers. That's where, pretty much this player advantage idea comes from. So again, something a little different here. arT takes a fast step, looking not to get opt. And here we're clearing oppers, okay, with this flash. Taking a risk to try to bait out this peak. And more importantly, scare your opponents into, even the fact that arT does that with the flash, now they'll be insecure on the B site because they think, it's not that they haven't seen anything, it's that they know Furia guarantee there's no push on that side. That's a win mentally for the game plan on Furia, but Speedy opens up first. This is worth more than any bit of information. Well, maybe not any, but a lot. They clear the A ramp, and an aggression behind it, and wow, arT is just going to walk out. Let's see if he clears close A ramp or not. Certainly doesn't feel like it. Under Balk. And arT's smoke is so deep he can pass through it. This is annoying. Now, there could be someone in CT, but look what arT can do. My God, what a play. What a play by arT. That is so cool. I mean, he was open to if there was somebody in triple, but the guy who's under Balk, as soon as arT got inside of that smoke, how is he supposed to hold the left side of it if he's constantly taking peeks to the inside? Very creative stuff. That's what smoke looks like when you throw it wrong from the CT side. It lands too poofy outside Apex, and that's why the T's can use it against you. Some great shots here. Already an awesome demo. Starting to lose my mind doing phase demos every day. The same game from 8 different perspectives. That walkout, man. That's what's so difficult. I think we got someone an A ramp right here. So that walkout out of Palace is insane because, you know, there could be someone sitting in jungle opping this angle. But if Furia decide not to use nades, they want to take that risk. That I think Star comes from under Balk, just walking a default, and is about to do something with his teammate. Okay. Rouse is just fine. K-Star is usually really good at these kinds of awkward engagements, and he will kill Rouse. Rawls? Sorry. Actually not familiar with some of the Sprout players. Haven't caught much of Pro League live. Oh, nice adjustment from drop. Bomb left and spawn. Really key to hold in a spot like this because this last player can be anywhere. But if you wait a certain amount of time, then there are logical moves for them to make that you can try to take advantage of. But in a moment where you killed every other player in the position, they had a different plan entirely, and you don't know which one it was. So, yeah, there it is. Slacks goes down, and it's all about trying to be safe in the spot. Last thing you want to do is put the bomb down too early. He was just sitting in CT spawn the whole time. Stops it, and it's a 1v1, you know? Are going wide. Seem to be a touch paranoid that someone could have dropped out into underpass. I think they're clearing that out first. That molly was from underpass, wasn't it? Oh, they did see someone. Okay, Spitty dies. Oh, everyone dies. At this point in the game, you got to feel amazing as an IGL. Yeah, it's 4-5, but we've already seen Furia do every single tactic basically possible. Looking at it from arT's POV, we've seen him do the double fake from A ramp. We've seen him do mid control fast and slow. We've seen him do the B walkouts. We've seen him do a Palace walkout, and that's only in these 9 rounds. So in my opinion, even though they're winning just by this one round, that is that nothing feels better than that for an IGL. And I think you feel very successful in this game so far. We're at a point now where they've seen basically everything work and not work, and the CTs will probably be a bit confused. And the more confused about the future the CTs are, the more times they'll make mistakes, and there's an opportunity right there. We've seen a couple times now there has been an invisible battle for the B apps control, whether they pretend to fake it, flash it, push out. Oh, that's ridiculous. Uses Star's bad smoke against him. That was Star's smoke, right? Was that his? Actually, let me double check. Yeah. That smoke lands too shallow. Normally this smoke for the rotator coming in, it's supposed to touch the van. And if it touches the van, then you can sit behind the bench. You can actually jump up on the van and see over top of the smoke. And if it is a situation where Furia were going to go back, then you could catch them going back and have one way to try, you know, to attempt to view it safely. And now I think there's always the wonder, you know, is it going to be an op posted up? And I think we haven't seen much out presence from Sprout for whatever reason. So arT's going to see the jump spot. He throws that molly for the jump up, okay? He throws the molly a little early. So I think what's probably a bit better is to throw that, you know, wait about 7 seconds, then throw that molly. So when the smoke comes up, it's a bit scarier to get up there. At this point, you might have to re-clear it. But he can also feel pretty comfortable that no one's sitting up there, even if he threw it a little early. So this is the crazy risky plays that arT is willing to make. It's never fun trying to entry out of B halls. But he's camped himself in an interesting angle to try to punish. Oh, there was that chance. And he knows there's 2 now. One was jumping up. Smoke doesn't block his vision. And these are the kind of chaotic moments that, you know, arT gets himself into. What a shot. Trade comes out, but now 2 confirmed B. And what did we just talk about? That if you get a kill when you're in a disadvantaged situation, that will be leveraged against you. So they have 1 committed in the B site and 1 op rotator. That is huge knowledge. So what do Furia do? Move directly into A off that information. And we talked about entry pathing before when it comes to connecting from connector to the A site, crossing around triple, keeping these nice long angles versus Tetris versus underbalk. And hey, you don't even have to fight Tetris in this spot. But was Mark... Oh, Mark's is sitting on default the whole time. Could he punt? Oh, no. He needed to get the kill right away. Or he needed to plant right away, I should say. That was a little misplay by drop. He could have just planted the bomb. But wasn't totally aware of his time. the kill still works and he stays alive. So Sprout were a little tricky there with their last position. It's very frustrating to know that arT could just walk up to the end of halls with an op, and that he could get so far ahead where most other teams would have support for him, and he'll just be there by himself, looking at different angles, checking in on you. That's the reason Furia win games. You know, just the notion that he could be. Because talk is cheap and they try it a lot. See how this molly comes down after the smoke, so he can come and make sure that no one's sitting up there and clear out these angles. But now the problem for him is he's not here just for fun, he's required to make a play. Let's see if this works out for him. Gonna see nobody in this position. Oh, he's made his way out. And he just stayed so close to the end of B halls this entire time. Could be fence. We saw Speedy in fence before. Yeah. Honestly, it's not a great spot. So fence is a really... It's honestly a bad spot, but it worked really well for him in that previous round. There was just nothing else for arT to worry about. What an awkward peek. arT upping on the cross. Could have already crossed. And it's done. It's done. It's over. Really well done. That was a nice search. He said, "Did you know I'm there, arT?" Even I knew he was there, you know, just because he'd already played there, didn't see anything else. Speed is not as tricky as he thinks he is. Most of the time in pro, I simply don't expect to see someone playing fence. So for that reason, it can work. But just because from arT's POV, he saw Speedy in that spot before. And more importantly, not that he saw Speedy in that spot before, but spent so much time looking for someone to shoot him back and didn't see anything, right? So just process of elimination, it became a reasonable check. arT showing his range once again, switching out to the Mac 10, where he's obviously wholly comfortable. And another, you know, kind of weird smoke. It's like one which just allows you to get a little bit more aggressive and avoid checking out window control. And it's even a little bit bad so you can come through it safely. Even if you just offhands that. I've seen a number of times now. It looks like Sprout either may have thrown that smoke from default to hold their attention for a long time. We'll see if that's the case. Or there's someone actually in here, but nope, doesn't look like it. Oh, there is. Okay, he was just sitting in there the whole time. All right. Maybe they knew. And arT once again showing his range. What is this? No way, we have an S. What is this called? Auto sniper? Sorry, this bouncing up UI thing. It can't be fixed apparently. It's like a CSGO bug that happened with the missing crosshair bug. I don't... Oh man, the disrespect. And the gun is scary, and they're probably very scared of it. And hey, if you got the extra money, and you were gonna op anyway, I guess why not? It's also, fun fact, 100% accurate, not scoped. So, you know, it's honestly very easy to no scope this gun. And it does a hell of a lot of damage. I mean, there are actually only good things to say about this gun, okay? It's a great gun. Mid control one. Not enough presence here from Sprout overall in terms of fighting back to the mid control and some of the aggressions that Furia have made. Not a very strong half from Sprout. But they've had some tricky site setups, I guess. They did... This is not a bad round to stop things in B. They had a couple of rounds where they were down a player and still won an A. and they still managed 6 rounds overall. So I can see both why they lost and also why they had gotten 6 rounds overall. Fantastic game called by Furia. Amazing rounds by arT, actually. Really cool demo. Lots of different guns, different kills, different smokes that he used, on the fly ones especially. And yeah, that was just all about arT showing his range. So love that. If you got any more Pro League games like that, I would love to watch. It's good to be talking about Furia. So I'm going to probably talk about it more in the intro. But yeah, that's it for now. So let me know in the comments what we got next. Thanks for watching. Always be safe.
Looking for a plate, that's why the dogs up early. With it white beer, eat it like a McFlurry. I ain't got time to chill, I'm in a hurry. P the game, I got it for my daddy ho. Smoking dope, reciting raps out on the patio. My boss said you ain't put